Peace and great health, Islam, to all the Moors, all the American citizens out there and worldwide. I want to do a reaction video. I'm sorry for being gone for a little bit too long. This is Count Noble L. Dallas L. Bailey Bay. The MoorVue podcast. Want to get more active, get more frequent, get more consistent, and dedicate a lot amount of time to teaching, educating, bringing certain things to the forefront. Some things that may just slip our minds. We're still going to cover economics, law, history, our history, and the daily events that happen that really circumvent society and behaviors. And that all goes into the past, present, and the future. So I want to do a reaction video to my man, El Haj, Leah Shabazz, Malcolm X. That's my man right there. Have a lot of love for him. One of the few great heroes we had that completely sacrificed everything for the greater good. Wasn't a rich man with wealth financially, but was more than wealthy in knowledge of self, and he gained more knowledge before he left us. But I just want to do a reaction video to an interview he did when he was still a part of the Nation of Islam in 1963. It was with the city's desk. And the reason why we're doing this reaction video is to want to highlight a lot of things that Malcolm X spoke upon resonates today, a great deal of it. And I've seen this video before, it's been a while, but I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I think the video is about 28 minutes long. We'll do a little interaction, reviewing any interaction in the interview. Probably won't play the whole thing, but just wanted to get a little take on how brilliant this man was. And I will critique anything. I mean, how you gonna critique Malcolm X? But as we get everything from a MoorVue perspective. So that's the critique. It starts slow.
Good afternoon. No matter what your point of view might be, there is significant in the growth in Chicago and across the United States, if not around the world, of a movement known as the Black Muslims, a movement which is popularly believed to preach a doctrine of hatred for the white race, the ultimate supremacy of the Negro race. Headquarters of the Muslim movement is here in Chicago in the 5300 block of South Greenwood. This figure now is known as Elijah Muhammad. He's in residence here. The most active person in the spreading of the Black Muslim movement is Elijah Muhammad's second in command. He calls himself Malcolm X. Malcolm X is our guest today on City Desk. Across the desk, our panelists this week are NBC newsman.
Now, they said that Malcolm X was the second behind the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, also known as Howard Poole Bay, when he was a student to the Moors prophet, Prophet Noble Joe Ali. Everyone has a teacher. Even Farad Muhammad was a student of Noble Drew Ali, for the record.
Charles McKeown, Black Calvert, Glenn O'Connor. Mr. X, may I begin by asking you, if you will please, outline for us the platform and policies of the Muslim organization.
Well, the platform the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, our religious leader, stands upon is the platform of complete freedom, justice, and equality for the 20 million Black people, so-called Negroes here in America. And he seriousness of the condition that our people now find themselves in, that it's absolutely impossible to solve our problems with means other than religion. And he teaches us that the religion of Islam is the only religion that will instill within our people the incentive to stand on our own feet. And instead of trying to force ourselves upon whites or force ourselves into the white society or blame the white man for our predicament and constantly beg him for what he has, he says that the only way that we can solve our problem is to unite together among ourselves, among our own kind, clean ourselves up, rid ourselves of the evils that we've become addicted to here in this society, and try and solve our problem ourselves.
I refer to the popular belief that the Muslims preach a hatred for the white race. You should not subscribe to this.
No, I've never heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad preach hatred for anyone. He preaches hatred against evil, against drunkenness, against dope addiction, against poverty, against having to beg for the things that a man is supposed to have. I've never heard him teach us or any of his followers hatred toward any human being.
Do you think this?
I want you to know that in today's media propaganda, that machine that rules as it rules every day as we see it, how you always have to defend yourself. You always have to explain your belief system if it's not the same as someone else's. That's across the board, no matter who you are, no matter what race you are, what you believe in. But they've been attacking Islam since it returned. You have to ask yourself the question, if all so-called Black people converted to Islam and let go of all Christianity ideas, this was the hate that they propaganda it to be, to keep the Black Christian from, because you gotta understand something, Malcolm X was alive, he may be beloved now, but just as a Muhammad Ali, when he was a younger man, speaking his truth, these people was not a favorite of many Black Christians. They themselves feared Malcolm X, but they had a very large portion of a Black following in America, and he was revered and loved. But it's funny how when you live the life of righteousness, they put you through pure hell, and then after you go, you are the most beloved thing ever.
Misinterpreted the word practice of hatred.
I don't think that any Muslim practices hatred toward anyone. We have businesses around the country that are patronized by whites, and we have many businesses here in Chicago, and our customers.
You notice that he had to repeat an explanation of "we don't hate" after the first one wasn't good enough.
Are white as well as our own kind, and a white person can go into any of these places of business, and he'll have to admit that he is treated with more respect, and he finds more dignity there than he will find among the so-called Negroes who profess to be teaching love for everyone.
You've had twice referred to the Negroes, the so-called Negroes. You find some fault.
Yes.
The so-called Negroes. Now, Moors call African Americans so-called Black people because as of then and as of now, you are that. Anyone that calls themselves African American, people of color, Black, shows no nationality, identity, connection to a demographic area. You know, they would say, well, I'm African American. Well, I'm sorry, but Africa is a continent and America is 3: North, Central, South. So pick one.
Mr. Muhammad teaches us that Negro is a term that was applied to us during slavery by the slave master. And right today, it's a term that is used only to point out the descendant of slaves. It's never used for Black people, period. African.
Negro, the first Negro was the European, and the first slave was that of which he's saying, the Slav. You gotta understand that they sent their worst here. And you gotta think about it, even in that story of theirs, that history of theirs, they were the first, they admitted they were the first slaves. We kind of skip over that great, huge, important fact. They were the first slave, meaning they were the first prisoners sent here. They were sent here for punishment. They didn't sit here they wasn't sent here for discovery. You can't discover something that already existed. If over 100 million people are already there, you didn't discover a damn thing. But the so-called Negro, the relabeling of the Emancipation Proclamation, the relabeling of another race, the switching of titles, since the Moors have not been taught who they were since 1865, we have this misinformation. It is huge. It is the number one thing that Moors speak upon, of knowing ourselves. Know thyself, how important that is. And again, Muslims and Muslims, not the same thing. A Muslim practices a organized religion. A Muslim is born as the mother is an African descendant. Understand or overstand. It's really your choice.
This country, they are called Negroes, and if they are called Negroes, they're resented. So if Negro meant Black, as we've been taught, it would be a term that would be applicable to or applicable to everyone. But he says that it is something that means a slave or something who is, it means something that has been left out of society, politically, economically, educationally, and otherwise.
You don't think of it as an anthropological term?
Definitely, it's not an anthropological term, it's a slave term. It was a term that was invented in America and was used by the slave makers, slave traders, and slave masters and attached to the property of the chattel or merchandise that our people represented in that particular day.
Moors own many slaves. It is our sin. I don't know if many more will admit this, but since we were enslaved, I'm not saying the Africans wasn't, but the American indigenous people were free. Now they could have decided to do these deals, being that they are the landlords of the land, and make certain deals, but give up their ownership. And on the same land they could have owned, they will then have been an enslaved. A choice. Some chose, some were forced because they were prisoners, already Slavs. The distinction is knowing your own history and knowing others. When you just know your history from others, you're not going to get a clear picture.
Mr. O'Connor,
What is your real name? Malcolm. Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish?
I didn't have to go to.
I've been to court to establish my legal name. Count Noble L. Dallas L. Bailey Bay. For the record.
To be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's
If
all
a
right.
Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or.
You see this European beside him rocking. Older gentleman. He's older than Michael X. See how nervous he's making him. See, cognitive dissonance comes in many forms, but number one, it comes in as humor. One, it can come in humor because they truly don't know what in the hell you're talking about. Or it can come in humor because they know what you're talking about, but they can't admit it. You know, for public purposes.
White background and a yellow person. Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah.
The so-called Negro.
Around with these names, and therefore
who taught Elijah Muhammad about the so-called Negro? The reason Nation of Islam don't give the credit deserved to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is because they was told not to.
Just that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once his grandfather or one of his forefathers was.
I'm gonna clear this up. As African descendants, your last name is your tribal connection to the land. Now, after the Civil War and being put in under a 14th Amendment citizenship of the Second United States, under the Organic Act of 1871, you drop your titles, your bays, your ills. You know, and for our South Americans, Al and Days. So by that effect, we have been told that our last names was given to our slave masters. And I told you, Moors owned many slaves. There was no law that said you had to be white to be a slave owner, and it wasn't no law that said you had to be black to be a slave. So let's remove those from the mind and open up the mental capacity.
By a white man who was named Johnson. His name was Bunch. His grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. My father got his last name from his grandfather, and his grandfather got it from his grandfather, who got it from the slave master.
Many teachings that Elijah Muhammad gave to Malcolm X was cleared up before he left this earth, because he changed up his way of thinking. He was the greatest soldier general that you could ever had in any organization, any group, any military. Like if you wanted someone to be in second command, this is the man that you wanted, most definitely. Because when he could be corrected he let himself be corrected and then stay and support something he couldn't. That's what you call a man.
The real names of our people were destroyed.
Was there any line, any point in the genealogy of your family when you did have to use the last name? And if so, what was it?
The last name of
So we doubled up on the hate, having to explain what is your name, having to explain, double up. And this is the tactic. This is the propaganda. This is the psyop. This is the engagement tactic of that's not an interview. That is what you call putting someone under a light, and I can't even think of the word right now, but when you have to have someone divulge themselves to you, interrogation, that's the word. This is an interrogation, but it's not interrogation to be educated. It's interrogation to see, can you communicate yourself well enough for us Europeans to let you be yourself? We're gonna stop the video right there. It's a treacherous road out here. You have to keep your head on the swivel. Again, I'm sorry for the missing in action. We're gonna double up and we're gonna go hard body like we need to, like I should be doing. It's been on my spirit to do it. But there are reasons I haven't. Just dealing with a lot in life, as we all do. I recently just had my 46th birthday last week, and it's time to get it. So please, if you like, hit the like button. If you don't like, hit the don't like button. Subscribe, share. If you feel the gumption, much appreciation. From the Morris Society for the Ministry of America, I am Noble L. Dallas L. Bailey Bay, and I'll be back.